the most hilarious thing I've ever witnessed in my life. To this day, when it comes to marriage, friendships, and social circles and interaction, my mom would be with her friends. Sometimes they'll circle like 3-4 deep sometimes. The first time I saw it happen, I made sure I did it again the next week to see if what I saw was what I saw. So I'm standing there in between the two doors and I see her talking to her friends. And I see my dad coming towards the group. And I don't know which one of the women looked up, saw him, brought her head back in the group, and then the group dispersed.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So the next week, I wanted to make sure this was not an accident because it felt very intentional. The next week, without fail, the same thing. I was like, yo, they don't mess with dude at all. Those are her girls. And they're like, hey, oh, snap, hit it. Hear that joker come. Ladies, holla. We're like, Maxwell? Good luck.
Yeah.
Welcome back. In our last episode, we promised to talk about what it really takes to keep friendships strong as life changes. Today, we're coming full circle, diving into the laughter, the hard conversations, and the check-ins that help us stay connected through every season of life. If you've ever wondered how to build and maintain real connection as the years go by, you're in the right place.
Come on, stop.
Basically, here's a funny thing though. At this age, it's really funny because like when you're married and you have a wife and your wife has her friends and sometimes the friends be like, oh, our husbands will get along.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I already got my squad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested in making new friends. At this age, if that happens, not that it can't happen, but I would be surprised if that happens.
I made a friend. I recently made a friend as well.
Listen, I'm not saying it's impossible.
Her boyfriend / partner, good dude. The dude, but yeah, no, I see what you're saying though.
Not saying it's impossible, but I know when I'm out here, I ain't looking for friends. The easiest way to make sure you and me and this person are never friends is to try to make a play date.
Right.
I promise you. Done. I think you're gonna like him. No. It's just 1,000 times no. You think I've picked my own friends over the years. My wife has never picked my friends. Matter of fact, when she came in, I had them.
Right.
I have the same ones.
Right.
They are now friends with her.
I think because Tanyera and I have been together for so long, we ended up cultivating a unified set of friends. So it isn't like we haven't had play dates so much. We haven't linked people. It's like, hey, you should be friends with so-and-so because I'm so-and-so. But it's been because we move as a unit like that. It's hard to be. It's difficult to be my friend and not be her friend.
You're a package deal.
We're a package deal.
Yeah, listen. As much as you're my brother, she's my sister.
Or you could say that it's unhealthy and codependent.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Nah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. As much as you're my brother, she's my sister. And that's just it. She's family. I took that was, and it's because you two moved together the way you moved together. Like she was never far. Wherever you were and whatever you were doing, she was never so far removed.
Right.
That it's like she was basically always on the same page with us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because she's always on the same page with you.
Right.
So it's just like, yeah. So my advice is, be willing, and it's okay when things don't work out because you're going to run into, because if you're in your 50s, you might run into some people who are like me.
Right.
I have my friends already. I don't want new ones.
Right.
I'm good. My friends have not literally, but basically seen me naked. Okay. They've seen all the versions of me and the vulnerability that I share with them. They've earned that over time. You get what I'm saying? Like they've been around me long enough that I've built that trust that it's just like, you just got here.
I'm going to add just one last thing. If somebody find themselves in their 50s and they found themselves over a period of time not to have no real friendships, and
are wondering why and have the desire. Because I'm going to tell you, it's more likely that somebody who's at this age who doesn't have any friendships probably have decided that this is the way they're going to write it out, right? But if you at this stage and you feel like what I have found is people who are at this stage try to have friendships, but stuff seems to just kind of like not work out. I'd probably suggest get some therapy. It might be helpful to get some insight into what's happening in yourself. What are the missteps?
What's your motivation?
What's the missteps that are happening in interpersonal dynamics, and that will increase the likelihood that that maybe if you do strike friendships, that they will last.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So, like, to put it in because we're trying to help. So I think like the cost of isolation is way too high, and we as men definitely die earlier, and we struggle with mental health, and we suffer in silence. And I think that's because we think we're supposed to have it all kind of figured out and have it all together. And we have a problem with being vulnerable in front of each other. It's not an easy thing to do. I think it's just because how we're socialized.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, none of us have it all together, and that's really okay. I think what we want to do is, I don't know, if there's one thing, I was fortunate. So it's a hard even question for me to pose, because I was fortunate enough to have the benefit of these friendships from my 20s, like early 20s. You guys have been around for a long time. Donnie, I've known Donnie since I was like 11. I ain't like you until I was like 16 or 17, but I've known you for a long time. I've known you since like you were playing the bass guitar and all that stuff.
Right.
Long time. And Max, your wedding, how long have you been married? So 28 years.
Wow, almost 30.
So I want to say we have been good for 20. I'll say we've been good for like 20 years, because those first 8 years, you were living life, going back and forth between Massachusetts and New York. You were out there big balling, yes, y'all, and doing your thing. So, you didn't have time for the small fry. But that said, so I have had the benefit of these relationships and these friendships, these quality of friendships for over 20 years with both of you for over 20 years. So yeah, I don't know. There's nothing I wish I knew about like having these friendships 20 years ago, because I had them.
Right.
I didn't miss out.
Right.
I didn't miss out. So I know friendship, from this conversation, what I realized, I know friendship is not a luxury. It's like, it's actually good for our survival.
Right.
Like, we think of friendships as luxury. You know who thinks of friendship as luxury? My dad. My dad is in, he's going to see this, and how he feels about it doesn't really matter, because it's the truth. Because I'm quoting him. My dad's favorite quote is, "I never needed friends growing up. I never had friends." And Pops does not have friends to this day. All of his friends, or the people that orbit him, are orbiting his wife. You know what I mean? Those are her friends, and it's a package deal. Right. It's like a package. Let me tell you that the most hilarious thing I've ever witnessed in my life, to this day, when it comes to marriage, friendships, and social circles and interaction. My mom would be with her friends. Sometimes they'll circle like 3-4 deep sometimes. The first time I saw it happen, I made sure I did it again the next week to see if what I saw was what I saw. So I'm standing there in between the two doors, and I see her talking to her friends. And I see my dad coming towards the group. And I don't know which one of the women looked up, saw him, brought her head back in the group, and then the group dispersed.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So the next week, I wanted to make sure this was not an accident, because it felt very intentional. The next week, without fail, the same thing. I was like, yo, they don't mess with dude at all. Those are her girls. And they're like, hey, oh, snap, hit it. Hear that joker come. Ladies, holla. we be like, Maxwell, good luck.
Yeah.
But so he does. I don't know what's gonna happen as he gets older because I think it's a trauma response from him.
Mm.
And he's just not dealt with it ever, and now he's 75 plus, probably closer to 80 than 75. He's
You know,
just
it's funny as you talk about that because so my dad is not that. My dad was really good friends with his brother-in-law, my uncle. And my dad, part of the reason I not just sing the part I sing, but sing it all is because my dad was always in singing groups, particularly a cappella stuff. He's of that generation of West Indian men that sang like Breath of Life and all that stuff. He's that dude.
Right.
And so he's always had his crew, his boys. He usually sang with the, and it's not the most imaginative name, but they were like his groups are always the Concourse Brothers.
Right.
So
fair enough.
And what I've begun to see happen with him is his cohort. His cohort is battling a war of attrition, and I think that's one of the things that's I kind of concerned about, like his spirits as his circle shrinks. Like, because like when he was sick, when he got sick last summer, when he had the stroke and stuff, like I had his phone and his boys like were calling from Atlanta, from here and there. It was just kind of like he has those friends, but I don't know that they have. They get on the phone, they have phone calls. That's how they do it. But there's no point to this. It's just an observation of like how that's as we move forward, as I project out or look at Dad, I'm like, this is me in 30 years, however many years, his when we get offline, there's something I do want to talk to you guys about, but okay. we've had some losses the last couple of years. We're doing a similar war of attrition. We're not a particularly long-lived set.
Right.
I guess that's why my doctor's on that. They're all on that. We're not going to let this Negro die tip. But right. It's just funny. It's just watching his cohort shrink.
Right.
And so with what we've seen, it was a terrible reason for us to get together and sing the way we sang the last time we did. At that war of attrition.
Yeah.
That we're continually fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and that's an interesting lens, and not to continue longer. Time's fast spent.
I'm turning this into 3 episodes easily.
Right,
it's going to be a series. This is a series. No,
I think that's the other lens. There are also practical reasons to have friendships, and especially as you get older, if you are alone, there's safety reasons. You guys know about my house in the Bronx, and there's a neighbor there that he just wasn't a really nice person when he was younger and well. And as far as I'm concerned, he's left in that house, and I think somebody stops by and drops off food.
He's still there.
Yeah. He was away for a while, nursing home. They brought him back home, and nobody's really. This is a guy I used to argue with all the time. I remember he calling me on Saturday and he was trying to have a conversation about something. And I'm like, I used to try to get this guy's car towed all the time because he would block my driveway. And we would argue and fight all the time, And just to see him like at the stage with like nothing, the kids are far away, nobody's there, my spouse is in a nursing home and you're just sitting there.
I didn't know he was still around.
Yeah, and I was just like, that's just not the way to be. And I'm going to say it. I'm going to be frank. I don't think anybody feels bad that he's there. Because, and so I think from the lens of, once in a while it occurs to me while I'm down there, I'll just be like, you know what, let me just go check just to make sure, like, because I don't know what, if something happens, it's going to take days before somebody find out. Like, I'm just being honest. Story. Right. Okay. But just the other lens is just, there's people I know who thought having friendships weren't maybe as a priority. And as they got older and they thought to think about their mortality, it started to become more important. And for practical reasons, to just not be alone, to just have somebody to call just to see that you're okay and if you need anything, it becomes practical at times. And people need, as they get older, stimulation. They need to be able to keep their brain functioning, even if it's just sitting down and playing Trouble or Chinese checkers with somebody. You need that social interaction to keep your brain going, to keep your stuff. It makes people think about their lives differently as they're getting older. And so even people who might not have survived their 30s and 40s without a friends, once you hit their late 50s and your 60s, it starts to dawn on you that there's some benefits to it that you didn't realize that were there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, you know, right now, like as we're coming to the end of, well, Don, you're already an empty nester.
Yeah.
And Mike, you're at the beginning for a second time. So you know that how quickly it passes.
Right.
But like I'm rapidly approaching it, and you devote 20 years of your life to just daddy,
One thing.
basically.
Yeah. Right.
And then you spend 20 years of your life obsoleting yourself. And then you're obsolete, and you know it's time to be that person you were before those 20 years, you know.
Right.
And when you were in Act 1, your friends were super important. So
Right.
as you get to Act 3, no pun intended, to you people went to church next door to it.
No.
Yeah.
As you get
Pleasure. Oh, I wanted to. When I was 13 or 14, I was like, ooh, when I get. Never
but as
happened.
you get to this point, you know, we're social beings. I think for at least for me, at least, it's healthy to have friends and get out.
It's healthy for all of us to have friends. You know, as you said that, when we're talking about becoming empty nesters and all the energy you dedicate into, and you know what, this is probably another episode or another show, but I'd love to have that conversation with you and Donnie and other married folk, because there's something to be said, because a lot of people lose themselves in their role as parents. And when the kids go to school, the marriage tends to explode.
Right.
Or implode.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like you lost sight of your partner in this whole thing. And then, so I always have these conversations with my son. He's only 3, and I tell him all the time, be like, your mom was here before you and she's going to be here after you. I was like, you're number 2. I tell him, I was like, you're number 2 on the priority list. Right. I'm like, and I say to him too, I'm like, you might be number 1. I know I'm not number 1 on her priority list right now. I know I'm number 2, but I'm going to let you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you
My
made
time
that
will come.
I'm glad you made that correction.
I'm living in no fantasy world. I know what's up. That he's tethered to her soul. I already know that. So I just let him know, like, listen. So I do make sure, and I'm very intentional of making sure that we still have our things, and now we actually incorporate him more into it, like what we used to do. But that's another conversation, and I think that's a conversation worth having, because some people might be like walking down this road right now and not know it.
Right.
That, you know what I mean? Like, you're setting yourself up for something really ugly if you don't, like, course correct and be like, yeah, we got to do this, but we got to do this.
Right.
You know, let's not forget about this, because we wouldn't have them were it not for us, you know? So let's not lose sight of that. Yeah. But so as you said, that stuck in my head, so I wanted to get that out. But before we wrap, you know, I just want to leave everyone that's listened and watched is something practical. And for all intents and purposes, we'll call it the Brotherhood Check-In. And how it works is securing a little time, whether weekly or monthly, to check in with a friend and just text or call or even meet up in person if you can. And, you know, just ask them a couple questions, like, you know, how's your head? How's your heart? How's your body? And those break into like different sections. So when you ask somebody how's their body, you're asking them, you know, how's your health? How's your energy? Are you sleeping? You know, things like that. Or if you ask them, like, you know, how's your heart, you know, or your head? With your head, you're talking about stress and mental health and your focus. Like, so you really want to check in with them. When you ask about the heart, then you're asking about, you know, family, relationship, be it marriage, emotions, whatever it is. And sometimes in there's no fixing required. Somebody just wants you to listen sometimes. I'm getting better at it. I'll be honest. I always want to fix things. And I think that's just a man thing. Like you hear a problem, you're shifting to solution right away. I had to learn the hard way after being beaten over the head many times with my wife when she says, hey, I'm just venting. Because in my world, venting is a waste of time. I'm like, if we're not going to talk, if we're not going to find a solution, what are we doing? Like, I don't understand. So, but that's it. No fixing required. Just listen, validate, and show up. So Donnie and Max, look here. Donnie and Max, thank you for being the kind of friends that I have needed over the years. And I think every man needs. And I thank you for trusting me with this conversation because I definitely, wow. Like, I love you guys. You guys have been with me for years. You've been highs, lows, everything in between. You guys have been around for. So I thank you guys for that. And to everyone listening, if you don't have friends like these, start building them. Reach out to somebody today. And that's one of the 3 questions. And you might be surprised what happens. It's been an amazing journey so far with these men who have watched me grow from throwing fits and tantrums in a car, complaining about heartbreak, or I don't even think it was heartbreak. I think it was just more like,
Whatever.
whatever. But real. I was able to be real, vulnerable, and raw. And I think I've always been able to be that person because I guess from my upbringing, my parents kind of gave me space to be that.
Right.
So I don't have a problem being that in front of other people. But anyway, if this episode resonated with you, just share it with a friend. Let's normalize real talk for men. Thanks for listening. I'm Michael Maxwell, and this is Playing with Michael Maxwell, Chaos to Clarity.
If you've been with us through this series, thank you for listening, reflecting, and maybe even reaching out to your own circle. Remember, friendship isn't just a luxury, it's a lifeline. Keep checking in, keep showing up, and keep building the kind of brotherhood that lasts. I'm Michael Maxwell, and this has been Say It Plain with Michael Maxwell, Chaos to Clarity. Here's to strong friendships, new beginnings, and the courage to stay connected, no matter what life brings. Until next time, take care of yourself and your people.